are swimmers, caught in the tide, pitch black river, shadows of night, into the night, beautiful.
So this is the start of the Menhirs of Monteneuf. Now, it's quite an impressive sight, kind of buried and hidden in the woods. There's probably a total of about 60 or 70 stones. This one, as you can see, lying on its side. There are quite a lot of them that are still lying down, and then there's quite a lot that have been re-erected. Now, we're probably about an hour's drive from Carnac, the main set of alignments in Brittany. Now this is more or less one alignment. You can see an alignment going off in that direction. There's probably about 20 stones in a line, but then there are tons of other ones as well. There are some, as you can see over here, forming some kind of structure, or I don't know what really. There are another couple of little alignments if we walk off in this direction here. But there's some really interesting things at this site. Stuff that we've seen at the sites around the world, particularly around Europe. And I'm going to point those out to you now. So it's not the typical type of stone. We're usually seeing like the really solid granite. This is more of like a kind of sedimentary stone that they've used here. Another one on its side, look. Massive one, that one. And you'll be able to see, this is the line going off in this direction. And I'm going to come to the side so I can give you like a little pan of the line. So it ends just off there, probably about 50 meters in that direction, and then this is the main part of it, and then behind there some stones lying down, and then that was the beginning right there. So there's some really quite big stones here. This and these two, and then there's probably the biggest is off in that direction over there. So there's a lot of erosion, and they've had to repair and reconstruct. You can see on this stone here how they have stuck that back together, cemented it back together. And there's others around, which I'll show you as I walk around. And there is a feature here which we have seen in Sweden and Germany, where they seem to like take a section out of the stone and create this kind of L shape. I saw that there was a stone circle in Germany where there was actually 3 stone circles, and each circle had one stone that had this sort of L shape taken out of it. I mean, they've done it there, a tiny amount. This one here, quite obvious. And then this one over here also has possibly been shaped, and you could say this is by accident, but again, I'm just pointing out things that I notice at these sites, and also, you know, similarities to other sites that I've seen around the world. So again, you can see this one has been puzzled back together. I think it was in 3 parts, that one. So can show the age of the site, and this would be this small row of knee height stones would probably be forming a second little line or alignment, And then there's one over here as well. That huge stone there, which I'm going to go and have a look at in a minute, is part of, I think it lines up with this one. And there's 4 stones over there. So it looks like there's kind of like 3 alignments. Now this one's interesting. Between the 2 major alignments, or alignments made up of bigger stones, and at the end there is one stone that's absolutely chock-a-block full of crystal. Again, another observation I made from around the world is the crystal content. You can see that down here, and how we, very often get crystals, particularly pink quartz, like this one, and white quartz, and we get that buried in the stones. Now at Leszno in Poland, for example, there was one stone that was particularly covered or full of crystals, and then other places as well around the world that I visited, in Spain and Scotland, where there's one stone or all of the stones are full of crystal. But there's definitely some sort of relationship with what the ancients were doing and crystal content. Now I think this one is probably the biggest stone. It's got to be 6 meters tall. It's pretty damn wide as well. It's probably a good 4 meters wide, maybe even 5. And then the thickness of it, again, at least a couple of meters. So I would estimate that this one is probably, well, it's got to be between 20 and 30 tons, I would imagine. So really heavy. Again, you can see it's the same rock. They're all made out of the same stone, this sedimentary rock, apart from that one that's full of crystal, which looks a little bit different. And then, so yeah, this would be the last stone at the site. And you can see that there's one alignment going off there. And then this would be the start of the next alignment, which goes off in that direction. So we've got the 2/3 alignments, and then we have this whole section over here. And again, there are features that we've seen at other places around the world. And again, I'm just pointing these things out. I don't know if they mean something, but they could possibly be something to do with what the ancients were doing here and the energetics of the stone. So this is like a gun turret, like a gun sight. We saw that a lot in Sweden. This, again, been reconstructed. That would have broken off, which again suggests that it's pretty old. There's quite a lot of cement in there, so quite a lot of erosion of the different pieces. And these two will show the same thing. It looks very much like the piece on the right there is broken off from the top. I mean, they're the same thickness. So you can see that could easily have broken off there, and if that is the case, then there's quite a difference between the shape of the top and the shape of this one under here. It would fit, but looks like there's been a lot of erosion. So that could indicate the age of the site. So again, there's loads that they haven't picked up and reconstructed. You can see just, now over here, for example, all these little stones off in that direction. This one also looks a little bit like, well, maybe not. Looked like a gun turret from over the other side there, but no, not really. This one's interesting because of a lot of moss growing on this one. And as we walk back over to what I would imagine is the main area, can see this massive stone. This one's 5 meters tall. Not as large as the other one we just looked at. Not quite as wide. And some of them, you can see the surface is just completely natural looking. It just looks like a natural looking boulder. And then there are the stones that maybe have kind of been shaped. This one here might have, the surface on the right there looks kind of flat. Again, you've got to remember that that could have been perfectly flat and then erosion over the years has caused it to look how it does now. With these buried stones. This one over here I think is quite a good example of one that could have been shaped. There's quite a flat looking surface there on the left. And this one there. Also there is one stone over here. With a kind of flat looking edge to it. This stone over here is massive. That one's got to be 20 tons, I would think. And my last point to show is just over here. A possible attempt to cut this or break this stone in half. And there's quite a flat looking edge on that stone over there. So yeah, lovely. The Menhirs de Monteneuf. They have a little display. There's a tree. Yeah, I'm not sure if these were used. Probably. I mean, I would imagine that a lot of these, not all maybe, but a lot of these would have been upright, and this might have formed, this was the end of the kind of third alignment I showed. But yeah, they have some displays over in the woods there of how they think they move these stones, so I'm going to have a quick look at those. So this is an area where they are trying to show how they think they built these things. This stone here, I'll quickly point this out. This has a line of crystal. Rather cool looking. And then yeah, they've got these demonstrations of how they think the stones would have been moved. So quite a decent construction there, rolling on the logs, tying the stone to a kind of raft looking thing and then rolling it along these logs, and then those logs have been placed on some kind of like track. So also like here. Again, okay, I can buy that that's the case for some of the smaller stones. This could have been how they moved the stones, doesn't mean it definitely was. And I'd like to know what kind of evidence they found for this. If they found remains of the tracks or something, or what makes them believe this, or are they just sort of coming up with ideas? I'd like to know that for sure. But again, the smaller stones, sure. But some of the ones that are in sort of 50 tons and above, I have my doubts, to be honest with you. I showed in one of the videos we made years and years ago how a French team actually tried to do this, and there was about 100 of them trying to erect this menhir of about a ton, and they ended up snapping all the wood and also it's quite a good video. But for a stone that's 1,200 tons, or a capstone on a dolmen that's 300 tons or 180 tons like the one in Menga, I have my doubts, I'm afraid.
Yes, I know it's happening here. Surrender to your love. Surrender to your heart. Surrender. We are swimmers, caught in the tide, pitch black river. Shadows and light into the night. Beautiful swimmers, losing the fight. Constant river. Shadows and light into the night. We are swimmers, caught in the tide. Pitch black river. Shadows and light into the night. Beautiful swimmers, losing the fight. Constant river. Shadows and light.